Good afternoon, everyone. It is our pleasure to welcome each one of you to ISO 27000 Awareness Webinar hosted by NORD Singapore. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Snow, and I'll be your host for the webinar. If you have any question during the webinar, please post it in the chat and we will address it at the end of the webinar during the Q&A sessions. And due to the time limitation, we will only be addressing 3 to 4 questions. In addition, all participants will be muted to minimize the interruption during the webinar. In order to make the webinar more interactive, we'll be pulling some polls during the webinars. And we will also be sharing a link for the participation certificate. So please fill in your details so that we can record your attendance and then send your e-certificate later. Together with me, we have our speaker, Mr. Roni Hasiholan Silalahi, who is experienced auditor for ISO 27001, 20000, and 9001. It is our honor to have Mr. Roni with us to share his knowledge for ISO 27001. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Roni to start his presentation. Thank you. Mr. Roni, please.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Snow. Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Good
afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Actually, this is our honor to have you all here for this webinar related to ISO 27000 Information Security Management System. Hope you all in healthy condition because this pandemic still not yet over. Hopefully will be over soon because yeah, our limitation now. I'm glad to have you all here even via online, which is we have to see this webinar through online. Hopefully in the future we can meet in offline even. So for today, let me try to share my screen first. Okay, for today we will talk about the Information Security Management System awareness. So what is the ISMS? In short, we can call it ISMS, and then what is the function of that? What is the benefit? Or some of you could be have something to do with that. And then before we go further, maybe I would like to know what are our objective to attend this webinar. Maybe from Snow can just show the polls, please. So we would like to know what is the purpose of all of the attendants here to attend this seminar.
Sure. So we'll start with our poll number 1. Yes.
Yeah, please. So maybe some of you in the organization are now implementing the ISO 27001, or some of you was now in because you want to have another knowledge, okay, and then you willing to have that, nice to have, and then okay, this is because being asked by my supervisor, okay, then I have to attend this webinar. So let's see what is the result, because if some of you are now looking for a certification, Snow and the TUV NORD from Singapore is willing to help you all. And the second question could be like, what is your knowledge level about this ISO 27001? So how far you already understand? So in the next slide, I could know how to take this presentation. Is it from the basic point or have to be medium to advanced point? Okay, this is nice. And then yeah, you can see here there are 63% that is nice to have. Yeah, there is a 13% that my company needs certification of ISO 27000, and then 19% is asked by superior, and some of it is other. Okay, so that's for the first question of this poll, and the second one, mostly 63% is none, which is okay. So most of you are new or a little knowledge about this ISO 27000 version 2013. Okay, thank you for these polls for the first time. We will have another polls next. So we would like to know what is the condition, are you catching with us, and then so on, so on. Thank you for this first poll, Miss No. I will proceed to the next one. Okay, this is a bit history about me. I was a bachelor from informatic engineering, and I also have my certified in IRCA for ISO 20000-1 version 2018. Also, I got 27000 2013, and then the last one I got is 22301. This is for BCMS, Business Continuity Management System. I also has this TISA co-auditor in TUV North, and my daily is, yeah, of course, as an auditor, my daily activity is doing audit. I think anyway, this is a bit history about myself, and I guess that's enough for my part. Before go further, maybe I would like to know actually from these 33 participants. I see from the list. Okay. Is a raise hand is enabled, Miss No?
Yes, it is enabled.
Okay. I just would like to know regarding the participant because there are 33. Maybe can say hello from participant from Korea. Can just raise hand, please. I just want to see how many people from Korea. Anyone? No? Okay. Maybe next one. I would like to know the participant from Singapore. Anyone from Singapore? Okay, that's the Mr. Hong. Oh, only one. Okay. Maybe from other country. I would like to see from Vietnam before we start. Any participant from Vietnam? One. Only one. Okay. Maybe other country. Yeah. Sorry for not call all the rest of the country. Yeah. I just want to know what are the participants came from which country, and we can start talking the ISO 27000. We Before we go to the ISO itself, we can just see from the cybersecurity side. So in this world, there are many cases related to the information security. So hope you all see in the screen. This is one of the new 2020 January 10. It's about Google agreed to pay 7.5 million for the Google Plus data breaches, which is this is one of social media beside Facebook. You can see there that fined by one organization to pay 7 million because of data breaches. And moreover, also this second one is Facebook also being fined 5 billion by FTC because of they not yet update and adopt new privacy security measure. And the last one, then also the a big company, it's Amazon. Here, sorry, it's fine with $886 million because of the alleged data law breach. Most of the big company they have problem because of the data breach. So this information security is mostly related with data or information. Here are the statistics of cyber security in 2021. We start the pandemic COVID-19 in 2019 in Indonesia. It start in the I think March second week. The government say, okay, we have to close down because the first case is found in Indonesia. Maybe in another country also around 2019, right? That's why we call it COVID-19. And then because of this COVID pandemic, the cybercrime is up or rising until 600. So can you all imagine that because of this pandemic, the cybercrime is going up? And then most of us here is doing working from home or remote work, which is we stay home because of the health, uh, the government regulation. And this remote work has increased. The data breach is afraid by like $137,000. This is by IBM. Next, we are using Zoom now. Yeah, most of us because of this application also more come more handy and also a little bit light from other application. More than a million Zoom user account were compromised and sold into the dark web. And there are like 11,000 breaches between January 1st, 2005 until May 31st, 2020. There's also more cyber attack. We can see here. Even we can see in number 11, over 77% organization do not have a cyber security incident response. 7% of organization, which means that's a lot or a big number of organization that doesn't prepare anything for that. And only 16% of executive, let's say the C level, CEO, CTO, or what C level, that say their organization are well prepared to deal with cyber security risks, which means 10 and 11 is almost close one, which is, yeah, you can see only 16% in the world that the company is prepared if something like cyber attack or malware attack or ransomware is attacked their organization. Related to the information security management system, that's why we must back to the first word. It's calling information. What are the information? Information can be printed or hard copy or on paper or also the stored electronically, which is it's a soft copy, save on your laptop, save on the server, and so on. Maybe you have the hard disk, your thumb drive, your email, and also if you speak verbally to someone or in the audit itself, and whenever you are have conversation, that's also an information. So this information security management system is not limited to only the electronic media. It's covering all, either it's physically or digitally, which mean can be verbally, soft copy, and a hard copy. It could be if you are a constructions, it could be a product drawings, or if you are manufacturing, it could be email communication, and so on, so on. So, what is actually information security management system? It's actually a mechanism that a system to establish policy, the information security policy, and also information security objective in purpose to achieve the objective they determine. So, in short way, the information security management system is we have the policy of the information security and we make the objective and the way how to achieve them. That's the meaning of the information security management system. So, but in the end, if our organization implement and also certified by ISO 27000, it doesn't mean that our company is a hacker proof, but our organization is prepared. We can back to the case that happened in 2021. Only 16 or 17% the company is prepared for any cybercrime activity. So because of the ISMS itself, we develop mechanism. So first thing is anticipate if there is a potential problem happen or occurring, and then prepare through the proactive measure. So we prepare what will be happen next if there is a breach in our server. How about our firewall? Is it okay? How about our IPS or IDS? Maybe it's intrusion prevention system or intrusion detection system. That's what the IPS IDS means. And then also protects against the damages. So hopefully because the organization have this ISMS implemented, they have protection against these consideration damages. And for sure, the last one is to ensure how fast we as an organization can do the recovery or the restoration. Just in case like that happening like last 2 years, that the ransomware that affected the organization, they will ask the company to pay a big amount of money before they can release the files. Can you all imagine that company have to pay like $100,000 to make this hacker or anyone behind that to release their file? So in short, that information security doesn't make our system hacker proof, but we have the mechanism when something like that happen, we can do or back to the normal position because we have the mechanism. What can ISMS does? One is okay. Let me try here as a framework. So the organization mostly have their framework. What are their objective? What are they doing, like manufacturing or call center or a cloud service provider? They have a framework, what to do, which one not to do, and anything to achieve their objective. For example, giving the services or make a product and so on. With this information security management system, it's prepared the framework, not replacing the current one, but it look like enhance the current framework. And then ISMS could be one of the business requirement. Some of, for example, me from Indonesia, we have a regulation regarding the electronic service provider. They need to have the ISO 27000 before they can do the activity. That means the business requirement. The next one is risk. So with this ISMS, we can manage the risk. So before the risk happen, we already make the mitigation first. How we can handle this risk? How if the data breach happen? How if we lost the data? That's what the ISMS will help. And then also will help with incident management, how we deal with incident. And ISMS also international standard, so known worldwide. Everyone or any organization would know, okay, your company has this ISMS, of course, yes. Okay, we can go ahead with you. And then the last one, what can ISMS does is the company culture. So not only certified, but if the organization or the company make it as culture, it will makes the ISMS more better. So from all the attendance come, let me see, the participant is now 40. Who will need the ISMS itself? Which industry that would need? Some of the audience might say, okay, this is only for IT industry. No, almost every industry need this ISMS. We can see here there is a call center. They have data that's safe, maybe personal data. Could be this is regarding to the banking. They are a call center for credit card and so on. Also, there is a loan. This is peer-to-peer lending. Maybe some of you have heard that there is a peer-to-peer lending. And then we can see banking. Also, hospital. Why hospital need this ISMS? Actually, many of the personal data is saved in hospital. For example, our medical record, according to the GDPR, that's a specific uh, personal data, which is it's very confidential, specific. It's like military data, the level. And then, of course, if you are a manufacturing, yeah, also will need this. We have experience also the automotive factory that have certified with us also. They are, not designing, but they are do the assembly of the car. Then the last one could be the government. The government also might need this ISO 27000. Why why would we need this? What is the benefit? That's must be the big question for us, right? So why would we need this? The benefit is, of course, the first one is we can control the risk. So we know we have the mechanism how to control the risk. And then we gain the stakeholder trust. The stakeholder, they give the capital to us. They will trust us because we know what to do and with securely. And then also in the customer side, of course, we also can gain the customer trust because how how they want to willing to save their data in our server, for example, or in our place if it's not secure. And then as a supplier, your organization or your company can be a preferred supplier. So when there is a project that are bidding, you can be win because is this ISMS. And then of course, because of the pandemic, some of the business were collapsing, but some of them were now skyrocketing, which is they are flying into the sky, like the hospital with the antigen tests, PCR, and so on, and then the internet service provider, they are flying high because everyone needs the internet now. The student, they need to learn from home. Employee, they need to work from home. That's some of the company that fly high in this pandemic period. But why we need business continuity, which means how we can, like maybe we are from the manual company or old style company, change into the digital one. That's how this ISMS will help. And the next one, of course, the compliance. So if your company is under any regulation from the government or even your stakeholder or your group could be help us as a company. What is the objective of the information security? We well known as a CIA. So this is not stand for the that intelligent agency, but this is confidential, integrity, and the availability. What's the means of the confidentiality? Of course, we already know together that how to ensuring that information is only can access by authorized only, which means if you are an HR, you can only access HR files or HR folders. If you, for example, you are supply chains, you can only access the supply and chain folder, which is you cannot access the other folders, for example, the HR one, which means you are not authorized to access that file. That's talking about the confidentiality. The next one is integrity. It's the safeguarding the accuracy and the completeness of the information itself and the processing method. What it means if there is a information, if we do adjustment or make changes in that information, it could be no longer work. For example, you have a source code. You have a changes inside the source code, that program will not work. Or the easy one, for example, a contract. We have a contract with a employee, which is before the benefit, the salary was like 1,000 dollar, for example, and then suddenly someone changed it into 2,000. That's sample for the integrity. And the last one is the availability. It's ensuring that information and vital services are available to authorized user when required, which means the information is available all the time. Sometimes if the organization doesn't have a backup, which means like you have a data center and the organization to make another data center as a disaster recovery center or DR site, that could be make the availability increase. For example, the service level agreement or SLA become like 99.5. That will maintain our service available most of the time. That's what it's mean from availability. This is a short example from understanding CIA. So For example, an employee from HR department is taking leave for a week and shared the password of HR system that contain employee data to his colleague from other department, just in case needed. Which of the confidentiality, integrity, and availability principle of HR file are violated? Maybe from all of you can typing in the chat so I can see if you can guess what is the confidentiality thing, integrity thing, or availability things. We just make like 1 minute so I can see if we already in line what I just explained regarding the CIA. Can we just do in the chat? Okay, I saw some is coming. Confidentiality. Okay, great. Yeah, I still wait. Nice. So, okay. Most of the you that are here is choose the confidentiality. Here, one of the person is what's the name? This Mr. Herbert is CIA. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No more. Okay. We will start. Most of you are choose the CIA. If we look the case in here, in this example, there's a mention employee data. What is employee data classification? Means what is this data classification? For sure, the classification data of this employee data is confidential. Means nobody can see instead of the HR department itself. So we can write here the personal data is as a confidentiality. And then the integrity, we can write here if this colleague is do or changing something from that HR department data, it will hit this integrity. For example, like what I was mentioned before, they have a contract. It's supposed to be $1,000 USD, and someone changed it into 1,500. Means they changed the integrity of the data. And the last one, regarding the availability, this data could be deleted by purpose or not in purpose. So what it means? Maybe the colleague is just not in purpose going into the HR folder, and then suddenly he hit delete it in his laptop or PC, and then the data will be not there. So from these cases, it can be hit the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So thank you for answering. Hopefully you all understand the concept of the CIA itself. Maybe later if there is a question regarding any case, please just write in the chat column. So a bit history related to the ISO 27000. It started in 1992 as a code of practice in UK, means the United Kingdom. And then also still in 1995, it's changed into the British standard to BS 7799, and in 2000 it's changed into the ISO. It started to shape of ISO and IEC 17799, and in 2005 it became 27,000 version to 2005. This is the first version. The next one, what we are now talking, is the 2013 version. In the end of this presentation, I will just have a sneak peek to the newest version of this 27,000. So stay hold in there. I will just let you all know what is the new version look like and when will be come in the market. This is the family. So actually, if we are talking about 27,000, it's not only the 27,001. 27,001 is the certified standard one, and most of the rest of that is the guidance to help us how to make the documents. For example, the 27,000 version 2018, this is the overview or vocabulary, so you know what is the any word inside the 27,001. And then 27,002 version 2013, this is regarding the Annex A. So it will guide you how to do the Annex A. There are 114 annex or controls that need to be known how to use it. Maybe this is not the new one. The new one is 2022 version. And the rest of it, there is a implementation guide, measurement. This is the risks thing, and also here 27,000 is only for certification body like TOV NORD. And if you are the auditor or internal auditor, it's nice to have this 27,007 version 2020. So this will be a guideline how to conduct the audit of ISO 27,000. That's nice to have because I also learned how to conduct the audit from this family standard. So that's enough for the family. We are going for this 27,000 version 2013. There are part of them. One is management system, MSS. That's came from the clause 4 until clause 10. And then there are 14 domain, a big main domain that consists 114 annex. So you can see why we call it 114 annex or control. There are annex 5 until annex 18. Here we can see it here. So let's move on. This is the overview of the ISO 27000 version 2013 itself. Because it's already using high level structure, which means it will be the same, almost the same, all the structure with others new standard. So start from 4, it's talking about context organization, 5 is leadership, and then 6 will be planning, 7 will be support, here 8 the operation, 9 of course how to check what been implemented, how far is the achievement of the objective, its performance evaluation, and the last but not least is the improvement in clause 10. So with high level structure, it's more easier to us if we want to learn how to do implementation of ISO itself. So most of the new standard already use this high-level structure. So how if this structure put in the PDCA, plan, do, check, action cycle? So in this plan phase, how to establish the ISMS itself? We plan first, we have to know what is the context of our organization, and then the leadership of the top management, and we have to make sure they have commitment when we build this ISMS. Then how we plan. In planning section, we have risk and also the objective. And then clause 7, it's related to the support, which means resources. What are the resources that need? And then also we need the competence of the person that will support the awareness itself and so on. That's on clause 7. This is phase of planning. What is the do phase? Do phase or operation is clause 8. So how we do the implementation or operate the ISMS. This operation or clause 8 is mostly related to the Annex A. Means all the operation will help with this Annex for Annex 5 until Annex 18. That's in the clause 8. And then after we plan, we conduct or we do the production or services, then we check how far is the achievement of what we doing or what we planning in plan phase. It's in the clause 9. It can be an internal audit or management review. And if we see the gap or see non-conformity, we can close it. We can just have a plan for improvement for the next other cycle. That's the PDCA regarding to this ISO 27000 version 2013. So here we learn a bit regarding the clauses and what inside the clauses itself, what's written there. So for example, if there is mention documented or produce, means it has to be a documented information, which means you have to have the files. For example, this is in from Annex 911. If there is, say, access control policy needs to be written down because the controls say policy shall be established, documented, and blah blah blah. Means that access control policy has to be documented. Documented in this word means doesn't need has to be printed, but if you have in like for example soft copy, it will be accepted. That's for the basic for the documented established word in this ISO 27000. The next one is the opposite of that. Backup policy does not to be written down because in control say there is no mention of the word document. So why and how the backup policy can be make sure? Do you have the backup policy? Yes, we have. But do you have the document? No, we don't have. But we have already rule between our tech guy that we have to conduct the backup daily and we do the test. That's the backup policy. Could be like that. Which means you don't need to have the document as long as you are know what to do. That could be accepted. That's for number one. Number two, it's regarding the policy or procedure. So this is if they don't need to be documented because a policy or a procedure could also be expressed verbally. This is what I mentioned before. So it's not really to be documented without writing it down, and some policy can be part of the information system itself. For example, the password policy. So if the auditor will say, do you have the password policy in your organization? Yes, we have. Do you have the document to see that is it really there? No, we don't have the document, but we already explain or give the awareness to everyone here that the password policy is like this: minimum 8 character, should have the lowercase mix into the capital, and the so on, which means you have to be complex, and then has to be changed in 90 days. That's all. The auditor will accept that. That's for number 2. And if we see the word shall or should in this 27,000 version 2013, means that should mean that's uh, what we have to prepare it. It's a mandatory. If it's not there, it will be a non-conformity. So if you found in the document of 27,000 that mention shall or should, means it's mandatory. So please make it there or create it. A bit about the type of management system standard. This is backward a bit related to the 27,001, 27,002, and the family. Actually, why we call it, it has to be the certified management system that called type A standard. This is, for example, 27,000 and 2013. It is included to the type A standard. For type B, this is the only the guidance. The guidance means only show you walk through how to build the system, how to do the audit, how to do the risk management. For example, 27,002, how to do the annex or how to use the control. That's 27,002. Other example could be 27,003, 27,005 for risk, and so on. I have explained before. And the last one is type C standard. If you ever find 27,017 version 2015, this is actually provide guidance on specific related supporting technique. For example, if you are a cloud service provider, you are a cloud service user or subscriber, means if you need more specific related to the ISO 27,000 itself, you can use this 27,017. We still have another example for 27,000, this type C standard. For example, 27,018 version, that's also different, not for the cloud service provider. And then PIMS, PIMCS, it's also have 27701, if I'm not mistaken. Please just do the chat if I was put the wrong number. 27717, that's for PIMS, Personal Identifier Management System. More specific. Okay, that's the type of management system. So after this, we will see more detail required related into the requirement of that 27,000 2013. Hopefully, we just talking about the skin, not too much deep in depth, because you will, oh my god, it's too much for me, like that, and then, oh, it's too detailed for us, something like that. So I will explain a bit or just fly related into these 27 requirements. So the clause 0 until 3 is only the like introduction, scope, normative reference, and term and condition. Maybe we can skip this a bit related to that. And here the first one is for the clause 4 is context of the organization. What we'll need here is we have as an organization to know, need to know what will be the issue, either it's internal issue or external issue that relevant that may affect it to the implementation of ISO itself, means the ISMS itself. For example, when we do the implementation, nobody from our company know what is the ISMS. Means that could be the internal issue related to the competency. And then because of the pandemic, all of the employee has to be sent and working at home. That's also could be the external issue when we implement the system management. So here's some the example. For example, in our organization, we already have a culture which is if we left the desk, the computer or the laptop will lock the screen itself. Means the lock screen is activated. That's good because that's one of the annex will mention about clear desk, clear screen. Means the internal issue or external issue, not always negative issue, but the positive one is also considered in here. And then B, we already explained regarding the competency or awareness. We have to know the awareness about the ISMS itself in our organization. And then the C, changing of organization structure. This is some of the organization has rapid changes. Means every year could be change of the manager level or the president level, which is affect the policy. Means if you now your boss is Mr. A, tomorrow or next month or next year could be changed and the policy could be different. That's what it means, the issue related to the changes of organization structure. For the structure, the external, sorry, for the external, we can see the issue related the regulation. For example, the GDPR related the personal data in Europe. I don't know, maybe in your country has the GDPR rule, but in Indonesia is still now not yet released for that PDP, personal data protection. Hopefully will release this year, which means like I read in internet that if in Singapore someone cannot just call you like that casually, because it's already a rule that if you don't want to be disturbed, or means just correct me if wrong, nobody can call you unless you want it. But in Indonesia has a different, because we always disturbed by like from bank is offering something, from peer-to-peer lending is offering something, because of the rule is not yet there. That's for example for this social and cultural and regulatory. And then pandemic is also one of the external issue, of course, because Our culture in office is now shifting from manual into digital or from office into home, which is a big changes. You have to be ready with the infrastructure. If your place is not covering by the internet provider, it will be a problem. That's why that could be the external issue. The next one is understanding the needs and expectation of interested parties. That's 4.2. So we organizations shall know what are our interested parties. This is one or more example. Here there are regulators, shareholders, supplier, could be customer, competitors, and also I forgot to mention related to employee. Employee also one of the interested parties. For example, regulator. What is the need of the regulator in this ISO 27000? For example, your company, because of the regulation, has to implement and certify ISO 27000. Means needs of the regulator is your organization comply to ISO 27000. You can mention here. An expectation, regulator expectation is no violation of that regulation. That's for example for 4.2. Maybe one more. This one shareholder, for example, needs. What is shareholder needs? It's not really always related to the ISO 27000 closely, but shareholder mostly needs that the income will raise from year to year. That's the shareholder needs. What the expectation? Also, the capital or break-even point is also coming. That the shareholder. Just for example, one more sample in the customer. What customer need? Customer need their data is safe, which means we as an organization will not disclose if not allowed by the customer. And what the expectation of the customer? They will always have the service 24/7, which means the availability itself. Yeah, hopefully you can catch with this. We move ahead with 4.3. It's related into the scope. How we determining the scope of the ISO Information Security Management System. What are needed to determine the scope is first we have to know what is the internal and external issue in our organization. Then the requirement that need by our interested party. For example, our customer need their data is safe in our server. That's what we have to do or to see the boundaries. And then the last but not least is the interface and dependency between activities. So what are the department or division included into the scope? For example, if we make the scope is the internet service provider provisioned by IT services. So means it's mostly the operation of the IT that provision the internet service. Means what included in the scope is the IT department itself, and then who hired the IT guys, supposed to be the human capital or human resource department, and then who bought the equipment for the IT guy is the purchasing guy. So we have to include the HR department and then purchasing department, and also don't forget regarding the legal. The legal, like the contract with the supplier, contract with vendor, and then also contract with the employees itself. So means legal also included. So if you want to see how many people are included in that scope that just I mentioned before, just count that all department that helping or supporting that scope. For example, the scope is information security management system on operation of internet service provider provisioned by IT department. So that's for example. If you want to ask something more, please you may just type in the chat column. Here for the next one, this is can be explained more related to the previous one. Information security management system itself. In 4.4, we will see the business process itself, how the scope that we just mentioned before is brought as a business process. So, for example, here, the regulator will see here as the body that needs this or our organization to follow the rule. So here is regulators. And then the scope itself is cloud service provider. Here is the scope. You can see here. And then what is helping this cloud service provider? What is in the operation of cloud service provider? There are IT infrastructure, IT help desk, and also IT development to develop the system. So those department is in the main of the scope. Okay, after the main department, also there is a supporting department here. Who hire the IT guys is the HR department, who buy the equipment of the cloud service provider, the purchasing, and then also where we put the service. Here put in data center, and also they have disaster recovery center. Means all this part is as a supporting department. So back to the 4.3, if you want to see how many people that support the scope, you can count all of this. Then it's also, of course, it's providing the services to the customer. Hopefully the customer is happy because we are implementing the ISO 27000. This is 4.4 regarding the how to implement, establish, of course, from the beginning, establish, implement, maintain, and also continually improve the ISMS itself. Moving up to the leadership, here the top management should demonstrate the leadership and the commitment itself. So how the top management will support us to implement this ISO. Means they will support us in like making the policy, determine the security objective, prepare the resources. For example, sir, we don't have the person that can or understand about the ISO 27000. They, as a top management, should have a commitment. Okay, if so, we can have hire a consultant. So we will guide how to do the implementation. That's of course part of the leadership and commitment. And then the top management also have to communicate to all the organization, and they have to mention also if we have non-conformity related to the ISMS, what would be our problem in a company. That's also have to be mentioned in here. And then how to achieve the intended outcome. So what is the plan before that they have determined in objective? They should also plan in and explain to all the organization, and also promote the continual improvement, which is if we now already like 90% with this like digital version of our services, what next, something like that. That's means continual improvement. For example, if we are now just using a fingerprint for the access door, because of the COVID, we can change into the face recognition access door. That's might be one of the continual improvement as well. Moving up to 5.2, it's related to the policy. So the top management, they are establish the policy. So what are needed in policy? Of course, it's supposed to be aligned with the purpose of organization. So if we are talking about information security policy, and we are as a cloud service provider, we don't talking about any other things instead of service provider that we offer. So we can say that we as a company provide a cloud service that's safe and reliable, also have a SLA 99.9. Would be sort of that. That's the example. And then don't forget, the policy itself has to be a framework for defining or determining the information security objective. So if we mention the policy is to be a cloud service provider that's secured and big SLA, reliable, and so on and so on, we have to set the objective how to achieve that. For example, okay, for the availability means we have to have a backup. We have to have a disaster recovery center and so on. That's the objective for the next. For make it secure means, okay, we have to do the pen test to check whether our system is impenetrate, means cannot penetrate by the hacker or others from outside. That's one of the objective that can be set as a cloud service provider. And then don't forget, here includes the commitment to satisfy applicable requirement. Means if there is a regulation from regulator, we have to also have commitment to align with the regulator or comply with them. Don't forget, the last one is a commitment to continual improvement. A simple task that show that our information system management system is continually improved is just see if the document is not never improved or the objective never improved, means that's less of improvement in your organization. So if you want to improve, just check like this. If you set objective that your SLA is 99.5, could be next year you can increase a bit, 99.6 or 99.7. That means our company is continually improved. Then as a policy, of course, it should be available as documented information. Yeah, of course, like I mentioned before, it's okay if it's not printed, or you can see in some of the organization they put a banner in front of the uh, receptionist that mention, okay, we are a company that secured, something like that. That will be okay. But if we can mention also we put in our website. Means that our interested party also see that we are now implementing or even certified of ISO 27000. That's what it's mean in available in interested party as appropriate. Means the vendor that support us has to know and also has to sign the policy itself. Means they will also deliver their service securely. That's what it means. Moving up, in 5.3, the clause is related into the organization roles, responsibility, and authorities. Means the top management will prepare what are the roles to help the implementation of ISO 27000 version 2013. For example, here I mentioned CTO. So this is the leader of the uh, ISMS, maybe the implementation in your organization. There is a level CTO that they could be as a top management that will be act as a top management. And then what is their responsibility as top management? They can like make the information security policy, and then they have to check the performance and do the evaluation of the information security and so on and so on. And then the authorities, of course, they can decide who will be the MR or management representative, who will be the document control, and so on and so on. That could be their authorities. Also, they have to sign the policy and have to agree related to the objective and other things that need as a top management level. There are management representative, but nowadays it can be stick in any roles. Means if you are oh, I'm an IT manager, but I also as a representative of this organization, so you can communicate with me. That's also fine. Here for the 5.3, so we have the means the top management should define what are the roles, the responsibility, and authorities. Because if lack of roles or resources as a personnel, we could be not succeed in implementing this ISO. So that's 5.3. Moving up to the sixth one. This one is action to address risk and opportunity. So in other standard, beside ISO 27000, they also have 6.1 action to address risk and opportunities. So what is different in this area 6.1 in ISO 27000? So when planning the ISMS, the organization has to see the issue, means the internal or external issue, referred in 4.1, the clause 4.1, and also the requirement from 4.2, means what are the interest party needs. That's how to check the action to address risk and opportunities. There are more than one reference for risk assessment. For the general one, we can take ISO 31000 version 2018 as your reference to do the risk assessment. Or we also have in ISO 27000, here ISO 27005 version 2018. So this is how to do risk assessment, how to mitigate the risk itself. That's in risk assessment. You can see here what's the difference. You can see in detail in next webinar. So I think because this is 2:15, we can have a little break before we continue. After this, how to do the risk assessment itself. So, okay, Miss No, you can take over from here.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ronnie. Yes, I think everyone has a lot of information, so I think it's time for a break. We'll have a break for about 15 minutes. After that, we will come back, and of course, we'll have a small poll again to see, if what have we learned from this webinar and what do we want to know more from this webinar. And also for the certificate, right? We have only received 26 attendance records. So, and we see there are 40 over attendance here. So please fill in the certificate request if you haven't, so that we can issue the e-certificate. So yes, let's have a break and see you again in 15 minutes. Thank you.
You make sure that our energy is safe, also in the future.
You take care of healthy food for millions of people.
You ensure that we're safe on the road.
You are always there ahead of us and know exactly what works and what doesn't.
You know no boundaries and tread new paths.
For more than 140 years, we've been taking responsibility for today and tomorrow, every day around the world. How do we do that? We see to millions of warm living rooms and well-lit streets, so that you can be sure your home will remain a comfortable place. We secure the energy supplies of the future. Mankind needs more and more energy, but not at all costs. We want green energy to be an alternative for all. But also in the future, we will need safe conventional forms of energy, with greater efficiency and less emissions. The world is becoming increasingly complex. By means of ongoing education and training, we help others to face new challenges. We want people to be at the heart of everything. That is why we care about safe food and make sure that there is a good feeling around the dining table. Our life is already exciting enough. When it comes to what we eat, we should be able to have confidence in the origin and quality of our food, so that it is not only mass but class that counts. We continuously carry out tests for healthy nutrition free from harmful substances. We have good relations with guardian angels. To ensure that mobility will remain safe, we look closely at all vehicles, whether car, truck, ship or train. With an objective outside viewpoint, we take responsibility for technology, the environment, and especially for humans. Our whole life is mobile, and that is a good thing, as long as it's safe. And environmentally friendly. We want to know how mobility will work in the future, and how new ideas will become suitable for everyday use. We love to set things in motion, so that both goods and people arrive at their destination safely. we search for solutions for the metropolises of the future. To improve the infrastructure and reduce environmental impact, we are a midwife for the really big ideas. We are aware of the pitfalls and know what secrets are hidden deep inside the earth. Our specialists look far beyond the surface. This allows companies to operate successfully and sustainably. We are where you need us. Everywhere, both on and under the earth. We give a jump start to people to reach for the stars, so that technology doesn't put a spanner in the works when we want to learn from the universe. We make sure that information finds its way to us safely and reliably. Even if it goes all around the world. We search for tasks that challenge us and solutions that change our lives. And our curiosity remains. That is what drives us. For a safe future and a better world.
The MDD, the Medical Device Directive, has been replaced by the MDR, the Medical Device Regulation. What exactly does this mean for you and your company? With the MDR, a new and more stringent system for monitoring market access comes into force. It ensures that medical devices are safe, effective, and can be better traced. Manufacturers therefore need to reassess their medical devices according to the MDR, or have them assessed by a notified body. Only then can they continue to sell them in EU countries. As a notified body, we are happy to carry out the necessary conformity assessment for you and your device in accordance with the MDR. What has changed, and what should be taken into account? The MDR contains some changes. This includes enhanced requirements in respect of safety and effectiveness. Post-market surveillance procedures must be put in place and continuous clinical monitoring established. This means technical documentation must be updated accordingly. However, your medical device needs to qualify as a medical device before you submit the technical documentation. Medical devices that have previously been certified also need to be reclassified. Stricter clinical evidence needs to be provided for Class 3 medical devices and implantable devices. All economic operators must register in the UDAMED database. Information on certified devices and incidents must also be added later on. To comply with these requirements, you must appoint a qualified person who will ensure that all regulatory requirements are met. The devices must be marked with a unique identification number that can be automatically captured. This enables better traceability and transparency in the market. Important: there is no exemption for medical devices already certified according to the MDD. All devices must be reassessed. Remember that there are transitional periods for authorization in accordance with the MDR. What role does To Get the Competency play? As part of audits, our auditors assess whether your documents and processes comply with the new quality management requirements. Our product experts and clinical specialists determine whether your technical documentation meets all of the requirements of the MDR. To Get the Competency supports you with your conformity assessment, and as the manufacturer, you will receive all necessary EU certificates upon successful completion.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hi, welcome back.
And just a gentle reminder, if you have not added in your details for e-certificate, please add in so that we can send you the e-certificate. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions regarding to the webinar or anything at all, please put in the chat and we will answer it at the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Snow. We proceed. Before we proceed with the next risk assessment thing that required by ISO 27000 version 2013, maybe we can have a bit recap and see whether you all still with us or still catch with us. Please show the poll for this session. Thank you.
Sure. So we will have our second poll. So hopefully we all learn something from the first part. And yeah, we're going to learn more in the second part.
Yeah, for this second poll, first question is, what is the version of the ISO 27000 that we went through in this webinar? And the second one is, what is the clause 5 on ISO 27000 talking about? I think we just passed this clause. Yeah, you all supposed to know or remember what is the answer. Okay, still bouncing. Yeah, hopefully you all have a great rest, short rest. Maybe take some coffee or have some drink. Even me has just finished one of the fried rice noodle. My wife just make it, and yeah, I finished one bowl, which is nice to have in a short break. Okay, I think
All right.
that's all.
Yes,
can
let me end the
see-
poll.
This end of the poll. Thank you for your participation. For the poll 2, we can see that our version of webinar is talking about ISO 27000 version 2013, which is, it will be coming this year for the new version. And then, what is the clause 5 talking about of this ISO? Because most of the ISO using high level structure, so it will be the same in another ISO. It's talking about the leadership.
Okay.
So, okay.
So thank you, Mr. Rodi. Yeah, the floor is yours again now.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Miss No. I will just start again with, okay. Hopefully you all still in our webinar, because in the end of this webinar, we will explain what will be the new version look like. Let's say sneak peek for the upcoming new version. Okay, and also we would like to thank you, because this very time is almost weekend and you're still here. The next one is regarding the risk assessment process. How to do the risk assessment? It's needed in ISO 27001. They ask us to make the procedure how we identify the risks. What will need to be determined here? First, the risk acceptance criteria. So which level of risk that will be accepted with our organization, and then also the criteria for performing information security risk assessment itself, and then also the CIA. Yeah, so how to gain the value if the asset, we are talking about the asset for the assessment, which is critical or not. So it will against the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and also availability. And also we need to identify risk owner. Who will be the risk owner? So asset owner will be different with risk owner. For example, asset owner of the laptop or notebook that provided by the office will be the IT department, but risk owner will be the one who hold that machine. Next, in risk assessment, we have to assess the realistic likelihood or the occurrence. So how many this one of risk will be occur in one period of time. And then also what I mentioned before, also the determine the level of the risk, and then compare the risk analysis with the established risk criteria on the third radio button, and then compare the result risk analysis and make a priority to do the risk treatment. Means if the risk not accepted, we have to list what are the risks that need to be treated and then have the priority against them. So that's what we'll need it in 6.1.2 clause. In the treatment itself, 6.1.3 is about security risk treatment. We need to select appropriate information security risk treatment, which means we can take from we can take from Annex A, which already mentioned in earlier slide, and then determine the all controls that necessary to help how to control the risk. That's for point B, and then produce a statement of applicability here. So every controls from Annex A that we use, we have to make the statement of applicability, which means here we have to mention also why we include, or justification why we include that control. For example, Annex 5, why we do the Annex 5. As they mentioned that we have the information security policy, that's why it's available or included in the SOA itself. Next, formulate an information security risk treatment plan. So we need to make a plan how to do the risk treatment, like the priority, when will be the last treatment happen, and then how to do the treatment, which control will need it. That's for E. And not forget to obtain the risk owner approval. So the risk owner, for example, like I mentioned before, you are the risk owner of the laptop. You have to be approved that this is how to protect, for example. We will check in next page regarding example how to do the risk treatment. Okay, I think okay. We'll proceed. In the next clause, we are talking about information security objective and how to achieve them. So we define what are the security objective in each relevant function and level. So which means not only a highest function means only manager level. No, everyone in the company that related into the scope of implementation, they has to have the objective, what to do to achieve the objective. That's what required in this 6.2. So in 6.2 also, here one of the tips how to make the security objective, it's already mentioned there. We have to be consistent to the information security policy. Means, for example, earlier talking about cloud service provider that provide the secured service of cloud, means how to achieve that secured cloud system. That could be one of your objective. And then we have to make sure that be measurable. What it means, you have to know the number or the point how to achieve them. For example, we have to do risk assessment once a year. Means one is the target to do the risk assessment. Maybe another function can be like this. For IT security, they can mention like do penetration test or vulnerability assessment once a year. That's their target or objective. Means the measurable is one, to make the penetration test or VA once a year. That means the be measurable. And then take into account applicable information security requirement. So one of the objective could be from the risk assessment itself. For example, how to secure physical security area. So the physical security area, how we can secure it? Okay, we have to maintain the CCTV or access door. So how to do that? Means we have to maintain the CCTV system. That could be one of your objective. So it could be came from risk assessment. For example, there is a breach because of the password. So the password is not complex enough and it's easy to guess. So we can make it as an objective for the future. That's how the information security objective determined. And if we already have that objectives, we have to communicate to all the relevant function. Means we already define each function, what to do, what their objective is, and then we communicate to them. Not only MR or only top people who know what is the objective and planning to achieve them, but the people who do that as a daily activity has to know what they are doing. And then don't forget be updated as appropriate. For example, hopefully this pandemic is over and everyone can travel each country. Means before everyone is working from home, and then now people is going to the office, going abroad, and so on and so on. Means we have to update, of course, from work from home policy, now work from office policy. That's what's needed. And when we plan to achieve its information security objective, of course, we need to know who will be responsible for that objective. Then when will be this objective achieved? And then what to do, what to achieve them. Why we need them? Maybe because of risk assessment. We have the assessment last year regarding about one of the risks, and then that's why we make this as an objective. And then where is the position? Maybe in the project office, if you have a project office of, or in HQ, and so on and so on. And how to do that, how to achieve the objective. This is what when we plan how to achieve the objective itself. Next one, 7. Regarding to the support, top management need to prepare or determine and provide the resource needed by this information security management system. So what are the resources? Of course, the first one is the personnel, how we can do the implementation if there is no person in charge. Then the time, we set the time plan. How long will we do this? Then, of course, what we need is financial resource. For example, because of the rule of the ISO 27000 that secure the area, we have to provide access door. And because of the pandemic, we have to change from finger into the face recognition. Means financial, if any other changes in our system or our organization, it will require. That's why we need financial. And then information itself, the data, of course, what to do and what to keep safe. And then infrastructure, I have mentioned before, like access door need to be replaced because of the pandemic, for example, or we need the backup system as a DR site or disaster recovery site because we only have one server. We need to make it a backup server, means we have to provide the infrastructure. Those are needed in the 7.1 resources. Move on to 7.2. It's related to the competence. How the competence can gain? It comes from experience, of course. For example, you are experienced in IT for over like 10 years, so means you know what to do, infrastructure, for example, or you are security guy, or you also have experience in development or coding or so on and so on. And also we gain from knowledge. One of the knowledge gaining is like what we attending today is a webinar, online webinar. So how to gain the competency in the last part of this webinar, you will have a certificate. That's what Snow say for. Means that can be as a knowledge competency. So if someone need the evidence that, oh, are you aware of ISO 27000? Can I see, is there any proof? Okay, I already attending the TUFNOT webinar regarding the ISO 27000 awareness. That might be accepted. And then also don't forget in D you have to keep as a documented information as evidence. That's what just explained before. And then the next one is 7.3, awareness. Means how far is your awareness related to this ISO 27000 in your organization? If the organization already implemented like 2 years, but you are never know or never included in audit, or you never get anything for this implementation, means you have to ask, because you might be one of the sampling auditee when the auditor coming, just in case, right? So what are the awareness that you might need? You might need know the policy of information security management system, and you have to know a minimum your objective in your department or your division. That's the minimum awareness that you should know. And also maybe the password, how to make the password, as what the password policy is, and what is clear screen, clear desk. That's kind of awareness that needed. For the next one is 7.4 is communication. It's related to on what to communicate, when to communicate, with whom we communicate, who shall communicate, and how is the process that will be affected by this communication. So this is in short terms, you can say we have a communication channel like a WhatsApp group, for example, and then we have a learning management system. That's also a communication channel. Or you have like a management review meeting once a year. There's an internal audit once a year, and you have an audit supplier once a year. That's are the example of communication. That's for the communication. We move on. Documented information. Here are what needed. So we have to prepare the documentation that's required by the standard. And standard, I will explain what are the documents that needed by the standard, like policies, procedures. That will be in the end of the slide. So just hold on there, hanging there. So what needed in documenting information? It starts from the creating, updating. We need the identification, of course, the language. See, you can see this. The media that we use, is it paper, electronic, or soft copy, and so on. And also, don't forget the approval for suitability and adequacy. Means if there is no approval from the top management or manager, means that document is not valid. Means it's not approved yet. And how to control? Yeah, you can see how we distribute access and retrieval. In annex, we will talk about the classification of information, which is could be public, confidential, or internal use or company use. That will be mentioned in further part. This is also how we store the information itself. Is it in shape of physical, like safe, or we have in a cabinet with the key and so on, and then how we store, maybe logically we store in a folder inside the server that only can access by our department. That's one of the control of documented information. Before that, we also have to make how long that's the document or information retention time, and how to do the disposition. Means if we want to destroy this document, it's no longer used, we have to have the procedure how to dispose safely. Means safely, it's not only just throw in the trash bin, but how if this document still have contained confidential data. That's what we need in this 753. Coming up with operation, this is the 8.1 regarding operational and planning control. So what we need is in this clause, it's required we as an organization create the ISMS plan. What are the plan? Plan to do the risk assessment. How many we do the risk assessment once a year. Then planning how to achieve the objective that we mentioned in 6.2. And then how we control if there is a change management. Change management is not only the structure of the organization itself, but also how if there is a changes. For example, we change the vendor from vendor A to vendor B as a cloud provider, for example. That needs control of change management. And then also we have to mention regarding review the document that required by SMS. One of that is the 6.2 information security objective. And if one of our process or more than one process that need third party, for example, vendor, outsource, we have to determine and control. It's in the last one. So which means if we need data center, but it has to be on the cloud, means cloud provider is our outsource. We have to control minimum with contract. Contract will mention that they will secure our, if we do the cloud, means our data in that cloud. That's what we need. So this is what we need in 8.1, the planning of ISMS. Next one, move ahead in 8.2. This is how to do the risk assessment. So in 6.1.2, it's regarding the process, means the procedure, how to do that. But in 8.2, this is how we do step by step do the risk assessment. And 8.3 is the risk treatment. So in 6.1.2, they say risk assessment and risk treatment. This is what the action is. So what is the action that to do the risk treatment? So I think this is that what we here before, what we will do with the risk. So do we will accept the risk? Do we will avoid the risk? Avoid mean, okay, we just avoid the risk. We don't do that kind of a mechanism. We will reduce the risk. That mostly common practice to do, reduce the risk. Or we transfer the risk. Transfer the risk, most common practice is we put our process into another company. That's transfer the risk. Here, how to do the information security risk treatment. We see here, since first we do the risk identification, and then do risk analysis, and then do the evaluation. So what to do is we identify the asset. Coming later after this, we identify the asset. What asset? For example, the server itself, and then do analysis. What could be the risk of this asset, means server? And then we evaluate. Is there any control that can protect this server? That's how to do. So what as a risk treatment is, like what we already see before, do we will avoid this kind of control measure? Do we will reduce this risk, or do we will transfer? Transfer means like before, we will be give this process into our vendor or third party. And on the top, agree means we accept. For example, because our organization is located in the remote area, we only can have one internet service provider. We accept. Means if one die, no other choice. Just wait. That's what means the example of agree with the risk. So this is the life cycle. First, what I mentioned before, we will identify the asset, which one is critical, and then what is the threat of that asset. After we know the threat, we try to exploit the vulnerability of this asset. If we already exploit that asset, we will get the result that expose. And then because we already know what is the result, for example, let's say like this, if the asset is a laptop, what will be the threat? Threat could be like, threat is coming from outside, means the laptop could be stolen, can be broken because of water drop, can be anything else from outside, or could be logically hit by a virus, ransomware, and so on. For example, we log with the virus things. With the virus, we try to exploit what will be the vulnerabilities of this laptop. Okay, when we have this laptop coming out of the box, they don't have any antivirus installed, which means that could be the vulnerability of this laptop. Means from inside, they don't have antivirus. So what we have to do is installing, of course, installing the antivirus. That means safeguard. We safeguard the asset itself. That's, we call it malware protection in Annex. So that's how the risk mitigation do, or the cycle. Here, what I mentioned before, threat is any potential occurrence that may cause disruption or undesirable outcome for an organization. For example, here system or asset, there is a changes, alteration from hacker or someone, destruction, loss or disclosure of information, that could be a threat. Vulnerability is the weakness of safeguard, means from inside. For example, oversight, flaw, weakness, resistance, and openness. Openness could be, if some of you are IT guys, there is a firewall in your organization that could be any port that open, which is we are not aware of. That could be the way to the hacker going inside our organization. That's the example for a weakness. Okay, this is the step of the risk assessment, what I mentioned before. Here, for example, what we have just explained with the laptop. Here you can see, for example, I put the asset is laptop. We determine the asset value first. The confidentiality is high, integrity is high, availability is high. That's what we already done before. Remember in the first, before we break. So from this laptop, we know if one of the CIF value is high, it become critical. That's, for example, procedure that commonly seen by me as an auditor. So what could be the threat? Stolen. And then what is the vulnerabilities? This is different with what I just mentioned. Easy to carry means the laptop is light. You can carry anywhere. That's become the vulnerability of that asset. What could be the impact? Data stolen, which means if they steal the laptop, it could be your data is also there. And then we also identify how often that this risk happen. So we mentioned its likelihood or occurrence. We mentioned here 3, and then if the laptop itself stolen, what will be the impact level? That means severity. Oh, it will be bad because my work, my source code is in there, my personal data is in there. Or if this is a HR laptop, oh my God, that personal data of all the employee in our company will be disclosed. Means severity is high. Then result could be likelihood times severity or likelihood plus severity. So just make a sample, this will be high, and then what could be the control measure? Here I put encrypt the disk. That annex will be 10.1. Is there any other control that could be put in this risk treatment? Maybe you can mention in chat, so we would know if there is another control that could be in this risk treatment. But because we are not there yet, that's we have to go on then before you guys can mention. Okay, so because of this control measure, let me just continue a bit. The likelihood is still the same, means people can still take the laptop, but the security become reduced because we already encrypt the disk, which means they cannot, if they don't know the password, they don't know inside how to enter the login, the data will save. Means if they just take out the hard disk or the SSD inside, it will save because it's encrypted. They will not see anything inside. That the example for risk treatment. Okay. Hopefully I'm not too fast because we still have so many to catch up. What most important also is a statement of applicability in ISO 27000. Here in 6.1.3. What we need in this is control selected or not. That's what I mentioned. We have 114 control. We have to put all the control there and see which one is needed or not. And then visible link back to risk assessment and asset. So how is it really used as a control of risk assessment or as a risk treatment process? That's why visible link back to risk assessment and asset. And then SOA stating reason for control selection, why we need this control, and then SOA also need why it's excluded, why it's not used. You have to mention the reason here. Here, what SOA format is, scope of the ISMS. This is for 4.3, of course. And then reference to risk assessment approach, control table, then ISO 27000 Annex A, and then this is also I already mentioned before in here. We can proceed. This is the sample of SOA. For example, this is Annex 10.1.1. This is what we just used the control before. So all of the clause you put in the SOA and then select it, yes or no. Means, are you using this ISO or not? I mean, sorry, the control or not, the annex. For example, this is no. Okay, when you say no, what is your justification or your reason? Because we do not have cryptography in our system, maybe like that, and so on and so on. That's how the SOA sample is. So this is a very common practice if you see in the organization how to make statement of applicability, short SOA. Okay, move on into the performance evaluation. Here, when we already has everything in place in planning section, and then we already plan the objective and we already do the risk assessment, we have to measure and monitor what we have done and do analysis and evaluation. What is that for? So we know how is the performance of our system management. Means how far we already go, how far we went already. So what needs to be monitored and measured? Of course, this will be a question. It will be on the 8.1. We already have 8.1 regarding the ISMS plan. That's the measurement that we needed, like achievement of objective, risk assessment result, risk treatment result, and so on and so on. What we already have in the plan, we have to measure or evaluate the result. And then we have to define when the monitoring shall be performed. And who will do that? That's also you have to mention. What most important is this one. The organization shall retain documented information as evidence. So should be a document to represent this performance evaluation. That's what we need in there. Okay, in ISO 27004, maybe the new version already exists, 2009. These are what need to be measured. You can just see a bit. I mentioned before risk, internal and external audit report, record of event, log, statistic, audit trail. Here, test result regarding penetration tests, social engineering, compliance tools, and so on. And also learn from incident. If there is an incident, what you have to do. This is also can be a measurement method that will be sources for measurement. There's 1 until 7. If you have the document 27.4, just see this document. They will mention what to do for the measurement. Move ahead. Of course, in every management system, they have the checking what we have done is already good or not by doing the internal audit. Internal audit already scheduled once a year or even more rigid, like twice a year. That's more even major company have that. And what will be checked in there? Of course, in this ISO 27000, the same like others, they will check the internal auditor itself. It will check the documented procedure, planning, and also check the review also the policy, procedures, and so on. Is there any conformity with the requirement of standard and even relevant with legislation? Means if the regulation mentioned that you have to protect the personal data, means the internal auditor will check until that far. Ooh. It looks like someone just touched me from behind. Okay, we move on. That's the internal audit. After internal audit, usually or commonly they will do the management review. But management review we can do separately, not in special meeting. So we can do partly, means when we just meeting with top management, as long as there is an evidence that show that we already have and discuss one of agenda that required by the system, that can be accepted as well. What are the agenda? One, follow-up action from previous management review. If this is the very first time you are doing the management review, means nothing to be discussed. But if there is a second one, means what are the outstanding from before, you have to discuss in here. What is need to be more good or better before in the future, you have to mention in this phase. And then if there is a changes in internal and external issue, also will be discussed in here. Review of performance, if there is an NC or audit result, that in 9.2. Then don't forget feedback from interested party, means our customer could be our vendor, that could be the feedback. What will we do for recommendation for improvement? And then, of course, the result of risk assessment and risk treatment plan. When will be this risk can be reduced, avoid, or transfer? What will be the choose? The control measure. That's speaking about 9.3. In move on to the 10 clause is the improvement is regarding non-conformity and corrective action. Mostly common people just think that non-conformity and corrective action only in internal audit. Actually, non-conformity and corrective action not only in internal audit only. If you have the objective is not achieved, you can do also the NC and corrective action. Means you can use the same form, so you can define how and why the objective is not achieved. That's what it's mean. Not only internal audit. Or if there is an incident that might happen into our organization, could be use this NC form as well. So that is the non-conformity and corrective action. And the last part of this clause is 10.2 regarding the continual improvement. This is relevant with this 5.1 regarding the leadership and the commitment of the top management to promote the continual improvement. So if there is a changes or there is a way to make more efficient and effective, you can use that as a continual improvement. That's why on continual improvement, we review all the procedures, we review also maybe work instruction that might be, oh, maybe if we adjust or alter this, it could be more efficient in time or in cost. That can be as a continual improvement. Here are the documented information and record that needed for us here. Means that required by the ISMS. First is the scope of the ISMS. Don't forget the policy. The risk assessment process, this is in 6.1.2. And then risk treatment process, this is in 8.3. And then 6.1.3 is statement of applicability. In 6.2, information security objective. So we have to make it documented information. Don't forget, in 7.2 regarding competency, we have to also have the documented information, that evidence of training like today, skill, experience, and qualification. And the last one is documented information that being necessary for the effectiveness of the ISMS. For example, it could be penetration test result, performance, achievement of the objective, and so on and so on. Here, the rest of it: risk assessment, result of risk treatment, evidence of management review, evidence of if there is any correct
Hi, Mr. Roni. You are muted.
Sorry, my kids just came into the my room. It's room breaches.
No
Sorry.
problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue. So here are the documented information and record. You just go ahead, do the print screen so you know what are required for this ISO 27000. Proceed to the next page. This Annex A. Okay. The Annex A, we have a lot of here. We are in Annex A. There is a lot of control that might need in our organization. So organization might need most of them. So we can see from Annex 5 is regarding the security policies. Annex 6 talking about organization. Annex 7 is regarding the human resources since prior to employment, when they are with us, and when somebody is terminated. Next is asset management. We're talking about the asset, how to protect the asset, and how to manage the asset itself. That's the Annex 8. Go on to the Annex 9. It's related to the access. How we control the access, logical and also physical. It's we can see physical protection is in Annex 11. For Annex 10, we talking about cryptography. Cryptography, what we just mentioned before, is look like the encryption of your hard disk of your laptop. That's also one example of the cryptography. And could be like this. Here, if you can see my screen here, will be NORD. For example, this tooth NORD worldwide. Hopefully you can see. There is here, you can see, this is names SSL. This is one of the encryption, means the connection into this site is protected. See? It's mentioned connection is secure. So what is means? There is a certificate here that used by TUV North worldwide. Here, the provider is D Trust, and the encryption is SSL Class 3 CA 1EV 2009. This is valid until June 8, 2022. So that's one of the encryption or cryptography. Okay, enough for that. And then Annex 12 is operation. So how to make sure during the operation of our services or when we are manufacturing product, it's secure. And then continue with Annex 13, communication. It's talking about how we are securely communicate within our company, within the employees inside our organization, and also how about communicate with others, vendors, another company, our share group holding group, and so on. That's in Annex 13. And then also in Annex 14, we talking about development. Development is about how we securely develop either the system of our organization. Also, if we have application, we also have to develop securely. And there is also an option if you have the development outsourced into the third party, we also have to supervise and monitor what they are doing. And they have to report to us what has been doing by them. That's in development. Continue in Annex 15. we are talking about the supplier, the third party, the vendor that might deliver any service that we give to them. For example, the internet service provider could be a co-location service, means data center. It could be a pen tester, vendor, and so on and so on. That means supplier. Means any supplier that could be provide part of the service that we provide, or even like this. I have experienced one of the company that provide the software to put inside the card that used for transaction. They still provide the card into the customer, which is the customer doesn't know that this card is provided by them. They don't have any factory that can produce that card, so they make the card outside the company, which is has a third party to create the card, and then the third party that provide the card has to securely give the card into this organization, which means they have all the contract, all the regulation, all the policy between them, which is not to be violated. That has to be complied with. That's the in Annex 15 regarding uh, outsource or supplier or vendor. And the difference with the other management system in ISO 27000 is not only checking the performance of the vendor, we also need to do the audit vendor. So what will need to be audited? The same like you have the audited your organization by internal audit, you have to do that into the vendor itself. So you have to do the internal, not internal, it's second party audit. What we call it second party audit means the audit that we run to the supplier. You can do by your own staff, or you can hire third party to do that. That will be okay. The next annex is Annex 16 regarding the incident report. Incident report is also necessary if there is a weakness, if there is a vulnerability that found by vendor or by the employee. It's supposed to be fast to report it, and then need to be respond fast as well, because if there is a leakage or if there is a weakness, that could be an incident from the leakage or from the hole that might open. It could be an incident or event because of that. Next part is Annex 17 regarding business continuity management. This is also like what I mentioned before, ISO 22301 BCMS, Business Continuity Management System. In ISO 27000, they also need annex to maintain your service is always on even after a disaster. For example, in this picture, there is an earthquake. So how your company or organization still can provide your service or still can manufacture your product after a disaster, or not only disaster, means if there is a breach in the system, how you recover back. That's in business continuity management. And last but not least, Annex 18 is regarding the compliance. It's compliant into the, regulation, compliant into maybe you have a worldwide company regulation or holding groups company that's need to be complied with. For example, if there is a big company that have a little sister company, sometimes the sister company don't not do or implement the ISO 27000 because we are the sister company that needs to be certified. We have to let others know, okay, we have now will be audited for ISO 27000, means please if there is any service that required by us to provide by others sister company, please provide securely. That means compliance with group holding company, and maybe many others example for that. Okay, next. We're talking a bit regarding that. I think we don't need to run through everything in detail because I already mentioned before. We just skip. If there is any question related in detail, please just mention in chat and I will respond at the end of this presentation. This is the organization part. I explain in detail, it will be running out of time. Just into the next part. Geography, physical and environmental security or security areas. You can see this equipment I already mentioned before. Incident report, compliance, and here intellectual property rights is one of the compliance. So when you implement the ISO 27000, you cannot use the fake or fake license, which means you need to buy or subscribe the license to use any software that might need by the organization. That's against the intellectual property right. Okay, I think that's all that I have for now. Before we go jump into the end of this slide, Miss Snow, we have to go proceed or we have a Q&A first?
We can proceed. If you would like to, we can also take the last poll.
Okay, maybe we can just open the last poll first, and then we can proceed to the sneak peek into the new version of ISO 27000. Please take over.
Thank you. Sure, we will do that. As Mr. Rooney has mentioned, we will also, give you a preview, a glimpse of ISO 27000 2020. So stay tuned. And meanwhile, do take the poll. Yeah.
Okay, this is the third poll. Hopefully after this webinar, you gain something from this webinar. I hope not a little, because after this, my presentation will be sent to you, so you all can learn more from this slide. Hopefully this can help. And just in case you need more detail regarding one of the clause, annex, or something related to ISO 27000, please, I'm happy to answer any question that will ask to us here. Here, and then the second one, would you like to join for ISO 27000. Actually, it's 2022 version, Miss. I forgot to mention to you. So yeah, just pretend this is 2022 version.
Okay, so let me close the poll now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and I'll share the result.
Yeah. Okay, the result here after this webinar, thanks to you already until these hours, stay tuned with us. There are 74% that have a lot of knowledge after this webinar, and there are 26% that have a little knowledge. Yeah, hopefully the little one is maybe miss or something, or I'm going too fast. Please just you can review again from my presentation that will be sent after this webinar. And then, would you like to join the second one? There are 95% participants that say yes for the next webinar if there is an update for 2022. Okay, that will be nice, Miss Snow, that we can help another webinar for this new version. And after this, I will just mention the sneak peek. What is the difference from the current version? Thank you for helping me for the poll.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll next. Here the sneak peek. I think here are the changes. So ISO 27000 version 2013, like we already run fast before, it's from clause 4 to 10. In this new version 2022, the clauses will remain the same with minor wording updates or for clarification purposes. So it will remain the same because that's already high level structure. Like I mentioned before, all high level structure or all new management system is using the same high level structure, means clause 4 until 10. And then in ISO 2013, here we have 114 security controls. The good news, it was reduced only 93 security controls. But from 114 to 93, there is no deleted controls. What are there is only merging the control. So from 114, it merged into 93 controls now. Means there are only 93 security control with 11 new controls. 11 new control. After this, I will just explain a bit what are the new control. And then from 14 main domain control, so there are 14 from Annex 5 until Annex 18. It's 14 main domain control. It's become 4 big main domain control. It's so far, yeah. It's reduced like 10. Actually, there is no deletion in there. They don't remove it, but only merging. So that's quite good to see. Me as an auditor, oh my God, it's 93 now. It's better. It's not take a long time like the current one now. And for information here, down there, it's mentioned 27002 version 2022 was published on February 15, 2022. It was. So you all can now look into iso.org to find that new version. And then this 27001.2022, it's expected on early this year. So hopefully not more than this quarter, hopefully, but let's see, because there is no what we call, there is no mention yet internationally, no clarification yet that when will be this new version coming. But they only just expect it that early in 2022. What are the 11 new control? Here are the new control that you will get in the new version. You can check together. Now the new control we're talking about physical security monitoring. Here, not mentioned before, threat intelligence, new. Configuration management, also new. Information deletion, new. Data masking, this is also new. All fresh. Data leakage prevention. Here, monitoring activities. Before it was only event logging. Now they mention monitoring activities. And then information security for use of cloud service. This is what I have mentioned, that they have guidance specific in 27017. But now they have in here because commonly now organization use cloud service. And then web filtering. This is also new from the box. Secure coding, also new. Before it's only just protection of source code. Now secure coding means maybe this is part of development. And then last but not least is ICT readiness for business continuity. Yeah, we have also here in Annex 17 before related to business continuity, but they now mention new control ICT readiness for business continuity. Means not physically problem only, but how if you being hacked, if your organization being hacked or having problem with the database or the server, how? That's why it's mentioned ICT readiness. Okay, I think that's it from our side. Thank you for your time that already from beginning until now still there. Looking for my presentation. Hopefully you all gaining more information related to the ISO 27000 version 2013, and hopefully we meet again later in the future for this new coming version 2022. If there is any question related to the presentation or this webinar, please just mention in the chat and I will happily to answer the question.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr.
back to
Romy,
you.
we already have one questions in.
Okay.
So the question is that if they are building the ISMS system now, should they take 2022 version? Is these new controls, I think the control that you mentioned just now, I think 93 controls, are they difficult to apply? So this is the question, yeah.
Okay. So, okay. We just, this is that you read just now from Miss Dorothy, right?
Yes, from Miss Dorothy, yes.
Okay. Thank you for the question. So, if we building the ISMS now, should we take the 2022 version? So, because nowadays it's just coming this year, and then usually if there is a new version, the old version will the ISO organization will make some time for organization to upgrade. There is time like 3 years since the new version is out to all the company that's still using the current version to upgrade. For me, it's depend on the company. It's which one is taken for now, like 2022 or the 2013 version. Because it's not yet coming in public yet, means I cannot say that the control is difficult or not. Actually, more new version of a management system, usually it more easier than before. That's what we have when it's upgraded from 2005 version into 2013 version. So it is back to your organization, which one to choose, 2022 or still 2013, because the ISO organization itself, they will make or give 3 years before they take down the current one. That's the, hopefully can answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah,
Yes,
maybe
well,
next question.
next question is regarding the presentation. It's taken care. So yes, all the slide that has been shared by Mr. Ronnie will be sent out in PDF format so that you all can learn in your own pace later on.
Okay.
So any other questions from the floor? I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. I think we are very good with time management today. We're on the dot.
Great. Yeah, that's why I need to make it faster actually, because if I read one by one in my presentation, that you can see the page is 102.
Okay, so if the audience are still typing their questions, I think oh yes, that's another question. So I'll let the audience go first. So the question is ISMS can be integrated to other standards?
The question is from Miss Janelin. Okay, thank you for the question. So is the ISMS can integrate to other standard? Sorry, Miss or Mister, I don't know. This the ISMS can definitely can integrate into another standard. So the management system, there is an option in certification body, especially to TUV NORD. When we do or conduct the audit, there is an integration audit, or yeah, integrated audit. Means if you want to integrate to other standard, it's possible. For example, usually the information technology company or technology company, we say it like that, they usually do integration for 20,001 and 27,001, because they are talking about security of their service and the service management system itself. So they integrate those two ISO. Or even more, a company can integrate until 3. So it's often we see on the floor experience, there are company that integrate ISO 27000 as a security management system with 20,000, and the last one is 22301 business continuity management system. So they all together is mixed into, like what I say, data center or cloud service provider, mostly they have that integrated. Means because we already see before, ISO 27000 need continuity management system, that's in the 22301, and vice versa. 20,000 also has needed in information security management system, means back into the 27,001, means they can support each other. That's hopefully it can help to answer the question.
Yes, Mr. Ronnie, and we have one more question. I think we can close off with that question. So the question is that, is it mandatory to be certified with ISO 27001 for companies that handles data management, just like ISO 16949, Iatf for automotive company? So is it a requirement that any data management company must go for 27001, just like the Iatf for automotive?
Okay, that came from
Miss Mary Ann.
Miss Mary Ann. Okay, good afternoon. So is it mandatory to be certified with ISO that handle data management just like in case of automotive company? Actually, in TU with NORD, I also as a TSAX co-auditor, which means that's ISO 27000 in automotive. So means if there is a requirement for the company, for example, in automotive, ISO 27001 mostly needed for like the design for beginning. So if they want to secure their design until it can be a massive production, they have to secure that things. It's not mandatory actually, but if you have that with this IATF 16949, it will be great as a automotive company to be chosen as a great producer or a great vendor or a preferred supplier. That's sort of the uh, answer for that. So maybe if you need more answer for that, you just can type in there. Hopefully that can answer the question.
Okay, the next question is from HOCVX. And I think it's the same question or similar question to what Dorothy asked just now. So they are applying ISO 27001 2013 standard. So is it mandatory to apply 2022 version? I think this one, Mr. Roni already covered. So for 2013 version, if you are certified with that right now, you will have some time to transit over to 2022 version. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Roni. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Miss. No, it's correct. So the ISO organization uh, will give us some times to all company that have the current version to upgrade maximum 3 years after the launching of the new version. So if the new version coming early 2022, they will allow us upgrade until 2025. For example, it will coming like in this March or April. Hopefully it's not April mock. I also do that. So when they release in April in 2022, the latest time that upgraded all the current version is April 2025. So it's okay if you are now starting to implement the current version, it's okay. Just use the current one. But because it's really new, people still just want to learn what is the different, what kind of things that might be needed more in there. That's why if you are now new, you can just start with current version 2013. We, TUBNerd, will help the company to do that certification. Please just contact all our sales guys. Okay, any other
Okay,
question?
that's all the question we have.
Okay.
So if we do not have any other questions, we will end the webinar. But if you do have questions pertaining to this webinar, you can drop an email to my email address. Then I can answer through Mr. Roni's. Yeah, so feel free to drop an email if you have any inquiry, if you have any questions pertaining to this webinar or the content that we have shared. So in terms of the e-certificate, we will send it out in about a week time. So currently we have received 35 response. So we'll be sending to all these 35 respondents. Then we will send it in a week time. Thank you so much and hope you have a good evening.
Okay. Thank you for once again for everyone that coming to this webinar. We'll see you in the next webinar. Hopefully you all in healthy and keep safe.
Thank you
Bye.
very much, Ronnie. Thank you very much, Snow. I think that was really a very good webinar. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Hi, Snow. I think we can close, or we still have Mr. Ronald in the meeting. Do you have any additional questions? Hello?
Hello, Miss Eva.
Yes, I'm just wondering if Mr. Ronald, who is still in the meeting, if he has additional questions, or Ms. Pionilla. Not really. Then I think we shall close the webinar.
By the way, congratulations. So again.
Okay, thank you. I will just end the meeting for all. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Snow. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for your great support. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie, for your great support.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.